Hello, everyone. This is Will.
This is Alex.
Welcome back to another episode of They Mostly Come Out at Night.
Oh, Doctor. Mostly.
You ever have those weird, kind of nightmarish dreams where you, like, everything seems kind of messed up and
You're stuck in, some sort of weird place.
no one's acting really normal and, everything's kind of just, not...
It's dream logic.
Yeah, not the way it should be. Like what they call a fever dream. Where everything is just kind of really messed up and you have no idea what's going on. You're kind of disoriented the whole time. Well, we would just watch the film version of that.
If you have a phobia or a fear of hospitals, or you've had a nightmare of being stuck in a hospital, this is probably your movie.
I'm not gonna lie, this got the creep vibes going pretty well. Just because it's, again, like I said, it's disorienting. It's how if you've ever seen Rosemary's Baby, everyone's acting weird, but because of the ending, why is everyone's acting weird. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it, because that's a big one. But it's like that, where it's everyone's just acting weird for no reason. And then sometimes in movies, except for this one, you get the big reveal of why everyone's acting so strange.
No, in this movie, it's the seasoning on the steak.
No, this one, it's it doesn't bother explaining that, but you know what? That's okay, because it's just, they don't need to explain it.
Because you got a 90-minute ride.
Film. Yeah. It's just a weird fever dream slasher film.
And it's fantastic,
and it's great.
Because we love slashers.
Yes. It's probably one of our favorite, genres of horror,
because it's always guaranteed to entertain.
It's always good. Even I think you were even mentioning before we watched this, even the bad ones, there's always something happening.
Because by nature of the genre, people have to die, things have to happen.
Yes.
You can't just be a normal, boring, because we've all seen horror movies where nothing happens.
Well, in most slasher movies, they understand that you have to have a lot of momentum.
Body count.
Because this killer, presumably, likes killing people, so he just is he or she is literally just one after the other, just just slaughtering people.
So you know that most of your cast by the end of the movie is dead.
Because when you're making a slasher movie, you want a high kill count.
And by that, it's got to be entertaining.
But
it's going to be entertaining.
90-minute bangers like this.
It's great.
I don't know. It's entertaining as hell. It just gets us, and we liked it. Tonight we watched X-Ray. Or what was the Emergency Massacre or something like that?
The print on Amazon said Hospital Massacre, IMDb and everything else says X-Ray.
They both make sense, to be honest, so I guess it doesn't matter what you refer to this movie as.
I like X-Ray. It's just
X-Ray
simple.
works better just because it's simple and
Hospital Massacre sounds like, you know what? Hospital Massacre reminds me too much of that garbage that we watched, fucking Meat Cleaver Massacre or fucking Another Son of Sam. It reminds me too much of that.
Except if you're going a Meat Cleaver Massacre, it wouldn't be set in a hospital, and had nothing to do with anything with a hospital.
It'll be set at a fucking old folks home,
and
or
there'd be
something.
no doctors whatsoever.
No, it'd be one death and nothing.
Yeah,
because nothing movie.
Because Meat Cleaver Massacre is a
fucking ripoff,
steaming pile of ass.
But trust me, there is hospital shit.
There is a lot of hospital shit, and I don't know, by this point we've just become the Ramble channel, because there's too many movies in the 80s that we just want to just go over, but
we just want to gush.
We just want to gush about them because, again, this movie just kind of gets us, and it gets our kind of...
It's my aesthetic.
It's weird because, I love movies like Rosemary's Baby, or stuff where kind of cerebral stuff where it's you have no fucking idea and it disorients you the whole time. And then it kind of reveals why everyone's acting weird. But I like that kind of paranoia horror.
Where it's just
it kind of it's almost the person in the movie is getting gaslit, but you're getting gaslit too, because
the audience is getting gaslit.
You have no fucking idea what the hell is going on in this movie, and you're just why is everyone acting the way they're acting? And I like how this movie doesn't answer that.
No, it's seasoning.
Yes.
It's flavor. Because, like, you could just have a 90-minute movie with slashings, with killings, and that would still be, like, fun, but then you'd have, like, all the scenes without the killing. But in this movie, it's like they took all those scenes without murders in them and just sprinkled in weird shit.
Well, yeah, it's weird. It's like you get this slasher movie, and then like sprinkled in when he's not killing people is literally just like this weird paranoia horror,
Yeah.
like hospital horror,
Where everything's off.
where everything's fucked up, and she keeps seeing the weirdest shit and stuff that would never happen in like an actual hospital.
No, this is like, this
Well-
movie is the worst hospital I've ever...
It's like if you go into like a haunted house and
Yeah.
they have like a hospital section.
Oh, yeah.
It's like kind of like that kind of shit where you see just fucked up shit all the time. Everyone's acting strange. They're following you around, standing
all
way
like-
too close to you.
It's all dark and
you know,
dingy.
Yeah, like things are fucked up.
Yeah.
Or like even like haunted houses that are set around like a hospital theme, like the waiting line where all the actors are just like trying to like kind of creep you out for the like actual haunt. It's kind of like that. It's like
This whole movie is like that. It's like a haunted house that you go through like the hospital section.
yes,
Stretched to 90 minutes. It's great.
but then they put in a guy like literally murdering like everyone in the fucking hospital.
Yes, and then you have a guy that murders like pretty much everybody.
Yep, and is slowly stalking you.
It's great.
So yeah, so think of like a haunted house where a slasher is actually fucking stalking you while killing literally everyone in his path. So, in a nutshell, that's actually what the movie's about. Like this is gonna be kind of like the Ramble channel.
This is I mean, this also fits in because Valentine's Day was not too long ago,
It's true.
and this is a Valentine's Day horror because the holiday is very prominent in the film.
For the first time in a long time, I was single on Valentine's Day. So fuck love. I mean, this is
This is your
great.
movie.
This is great. You know, I'm a very cynical person when it comes to love right now. So
This is your film.
This is my film. This is what I needed in my life. Okay.
An 80s sleazeball movie.
80s
Great.
sleazeball Valentine's Day fucking slasher movie.
This is great because I mean the basic setup is just like happens right in the intro where like there's like this girl.
She goes in for like a so she went in for some tests.
Well, no, I talk about the very beginning because the very beginning.
Oh, the very beginning. Yeah, that's right.
Where it's like when it's like these kids and this girl is like with this kid at his house and they're playing with like a train set and there's like this kid watching through the window. He leaves a little Valentine's Day like envelope for her on the door. She gets it and then she's like, "Ooh, it's Harold!" And they all laugh at him.
They all laugh, and then
she goes in the other room to cut a cake, and then she goes back.
Cut a cake with way too fucking big of
with
a
the
knife.
biggest, like a scimitar.
They almost make you think she's the slasher at the beginning because she
100%.
she like weirdly grabs.
They
the
do it on
fucking
purpose.
Biggest knife ever.
They do it on
And
purpose.
like stabs it into the fucking cake.
They do it on purpose,
Yeah, they
100%. And she gets like the cake, she gets the slice, and then she goes back into the room with the train set, and the other kid is now like impaled on like a fucking coat rack, and the other kid's in the window just laughing. Fast forward to modern day, which is the movie is it's Valentine's Day. This woman goes to a hospital to get she just wants to get her fucking test results.
Yep.
That's
And
it.
The doctor's gonna give her the test results, and everything's gonna be fine because there's nothing wrong with her.
But nope.
But no, because what happens is the slasher mixes up her files and like
To keep her at the hospital.
convinces everyone that she's like super fucking sick, like she cannot leave or she will die. She's like a ticking time bomb. She could die at any moment, and they want to keep her for tests and all this tests and stuff. And he won't let her leave the hospital because he wants to get
no
to her.
one. Yeah.
And while getting to her,
In the meantime, everyone else in the hospital, he murders
he's
them.
just getting murdered. Now, like, I think we should talk about her character for a minute because she has like an ex-husband who's a total asshole that never goes anywhere. Like we see a couple scenes of him like
I mean, it's
kind of neglecting the daughter. So she has
it's a slasher.
She has an ex-husband and a daughter.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, like, it's a slasher, so it's kind of like, it's a red herring, basically.
Yeah.
Because the ex is a total dickhead, and, like, he's always, like, has this, like, fucking switchblade knife that he uses to, like, carve fucking oranges.
But he's constantly, like, leaving the daughter, and it's, like, it kind of, like, builds up that paranoia of, like, oh, is he the murderer?
Because basically every single fucking, like, male character in this film, except for her, like, actual fiance, is, like, suspicious, basically.
Yes.
Again, because as a slasher movie, we have to have, like, red herrings, and this gets it. So every fucking character, every male character is, something's off.
Yeah.
Again, everything's off.
Right.
Because, yeah, the fucking ex is all weird and, like, distant and a total dickhead and always has this fucking knife on him, and it's like...
I would say the kid is, like, the kid and the woman are, like, the only two normal people in the entire movie.
Yes, they're the only normal people, especially, the woman's the only normal person at the fucking hospital.
Yes. So she goes for this checkup, like, the new boyfriend drops her off.
And he's just like... And she's just like, it'll just be a few minutes. Oh, boy.
Not a few minutes, it's like 2 hours, and he's just sleeping in the car.
It goes from day to night. And
but we'll get
many bodies later.
Well, and, like, you know, he waits this 2 hours and then goes in and then realizes everything's fucked up. And, like, tries to figure everything out, like, tries to confront the doctor, but then does nothing to defend her when they're, like, taking her back and, like, thinking she's all crazy.
Because the thing is, like, no one actually tells him or her what's actually wrong with her.
Right.
We kind of get the implication that she's got some, like, insane brain disorder, because every time, like, some crazy shit happens in the movie, they're just like, oh, it's just she's having another, like, she's having a seizure, she's just having another hallucination. So so it's like she's got some weird fucking brain thing, because they keep looking at this X-ray, and the best way I can describe the actual X-ray is, like, it's like an X-ray of, like, a head, but there's, like, worms. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
Like gummy worms. Like, take a brain and, like, overlay some gummy worms on it. That's what it looks like. So.
Well, and then it's also, like, something about her, like, heart. It's like a chest X-ray, and it's, like, something about her heart where she's, like, could, like I said, she could, like, they think she can die at, like, any moment. Well, I mean, I guess in a slasher movie, you can die at any moment. So
little did they know.
But yeah, so that's, like, the basic setup. It's like it's literally just her going in for a checkup, and things go wrong. Everything goes wrong.
And we get lots of crazy imagery. I do wonder if there's, like, an HD version of this somewhere.
There is. So if you know Shout Factory, they actually have a Blu-ray version of this.
Because it's a very good-looking movie.
Yes.
But the version we watched is definitely, like, older. So it's not quite, like, cleaned up.
Yeah, I'm actually, like, I would be interested in watching the Blu-ray version.
I would love to see, like, what an HD rip of this looks like.
Because the visuals are pretty fucking cool in this. There's some really, like, interesting lighting effects going on.
There's good lighting. There's lots of, like, good, like...
It's good cinematography because they filmed in an actual hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
and they're getting their fucking money's worth.
And you can tell it was filmed at night. The whole thing was filmed at night. Because, like...
What a fucking relief.
Yeah. It's on location. It's at night. There's no day for night at all.
What a fucking relief.
And it's like, it's weird because they only seem to, like, light certain rooms and certain things. So it's, like, very dark, but you can still tell what's going on.
But it's also, like, big on, like, atmosphere, because none of the room, because, I mean, like, if you've ever been to a hospital, even at night, it's lit bright the fuck up.
Yes.
Like, actual hospitals are brightly lit the fuck up.
Whereas
in this, it's like, it's just barely lit.
Even, like, the doctor's offices, like, they're, like,
there's, like, one lamp.
All their lamps are on, like, dim.
Yeah.
And it's, like, it's dark as fuck in every single office.
Yeah. Well, there's, like, this one scene where there's, like, 3 doctors in one room, and they're going over, like, the x-rays. And it's, like, the way they film it is, like, there's, like, a single light, and it's, like, emanating from, like, below them. So it just looks very like sinister.
Well, yeah, it's weird. Like this whole movie gives off a sinister vibe. Like everyone's like out to oppress this woman.
Okay. Well,
it's very oppressive.
We need because like, so here's the thing. Like everyone in the hospital is crazy. There's the fucking guy who's just wandering around drunk.
Yes, and he's like hitting on all the women.
He's hitting on all the women, and he's just stumbling around with like a fucking bottle of liquor. There's like a part where she's like talking on the phone, like calling like her daughter, like asking how things are, and like this guy just walks up behind her, just kind of stands there, just staring at her, which is actually the director.
Yep,
our fucking legend put him in the movie.
Well,
there's there's another part which I loved where, like, it's just a fucking throwaway shot of like some guy being wheeled in on like a gurney, and his head is just like shaking. Like if you ever seen like Jacob's Ladder, that's kind of what he looks like.
Yep. Then there's like three older ladies that are like she's like in the same room with when they're like keeping her there. There's three older ladies that keep like roaming the halls and acting like super strange. There's like a really religious one. There's one that's calling her like bad blood, and she's got like she's cursed,
like her bones are falling apart. Her blood's
and then there's
dark.
one that's like doesn't talk at all.
Yeah.
And then there's like random things where she'll like go into a room when she's trying to get out, and like there's like three dudes like crammed together.
Oh yeah,
and they're all like broken bones, and they're all shaking when she turns on the light.
It reminds me of the ending of fucking It's a Mad Mad World.
Yes.
When they're all in the hospital and their legs are all like broken and they're all like hanging in casts.
Yes.
And they start laughing but this is like the horror version of that.
Yeah, and it actually looks cool, and it like gives off the like horror vibe pretty well.
My favorite actual horror like thing is like when basically the fiance is getting the fucking big epic bamboozle, is he's like waiting outside the doctor's office because the main doctor told him like, I'll tell you what's happened, just wait outside my office.
So he goes in and she gets like restrained by these two nurses and the fucked up doctor that's like keeping her there because he thinks like something's really wrong with her.
She's got some head disorder.
And so he tells the boyfriend to go wait outside his office because he's going to tell him everything.
And he waits there, and he's the only one there, and then like the fucking the like announcement, like there's like a megaphone goes off, and it's like, will the person like waiting on floor 8 please answer the phone?
Yeah.
And he looks around and he's like, yeah, I'm the only answer the phone. Like, yeah, I'm the only person here. And we just hear him like talking to somebody.
Yeah, and he's like, go to room 911.
He's
okay.
like, go room 911. Okay, take the service stairs. Okay, so he takes the service stairs, runs into the drunk guy, goes up, and like the whole floor is just dark and dingy and smoky. And like he runs into the three women, and they're all like, "Are you Dr. So-and-so?" And they're like, "No, it can't be Dr. So-and-so." And they just kind of keep walking. Like the whole thing is very, very surreal.
This is probably my favorite like death scene, I think.
Well, it's just like
the setup is so like strange.
Well, that, and you get the payoff.
Yes.
Because he keeps walking. It's all very surreal, and he just like the room numbers keep like counting up, kind of, until he gets to room 911. He walks in there. It's all dark. The only thing in the room is like those like hospital like dividers.
Yeah.
And a light just turns on.
And you see some guy wheel into the...
And you just see a person in like a wheelchair just like wheel into the light.
The lighting is very selective in this movie.
Yes.
Like they knew exactly what they were doing.
And
so
a voice starts talking like all like creepy, like, do you know her? Like, is she your mistress? Do you touch her in all her secret places?
And then he goes around. He's like,
is
what
this
are you
some kind of
talking
joke?
about? And he goes around and it's like an orderly with his with a knife.
With a knife. It's into
his chest.
It's a woman that he killed earlier.
Yes.
And the guy like walks up behind him with like, it's like that like hospital like saw.
It's a skull saw. So basically, what it's like it's a saw that's strong enough to cut through bone.
And he comes up behind him with that, and he starts cutting his like throat. But the way we see it is just like
through the like silhouetted like divider,
and it's just the blood spraying onto it. And then that scene ends. And then the woman's like in her hospital bed, sleeping presumably, and we see a guy walk in. Well, first we get like a long panning shot of all the beds. And every single bed in the room is completely empty.
Yep, because we know these old biddies walk around all over the place.
So the whole place is completely empty, and it goes to her, and then it goes to the hallway, and we see the guy walk in with a present.
Well, you see two 2 feet that are covered in the fucking
the hospital
dust
thing.
guards or whatever, and he like sets a box on her nightstand, and I'm like, it's gonna be his fucking head.
Yeah, because we've seen movies like this.
We've seen slasher movies.
We know.
We've seen The Godfather. Like, it's gonna be his fucking head.
And it is. She opens it and it's the fucking fiance's head. She goes like running around through the hallways and like there's no one anywhere to help her.
And all of a sudden, out of the elevator pops the fucking doctor again.
No, she runs into like a room and like barricades it with like a chair.
Right. And then she runs into the corner and like is waiting, and the doctor,
the actual doctor, like busts in and she's telling them like there's his head and like all this stuff, and they're just like, oh, you're just having another like attack.
So they take her to her room, and it's a fucking like cake now.
Yeah, it's like it's still sealed up. And the 3 biddies are in the room now.
3 older ladies are in the room now.
And they open it up and it's just a cake.
Back to normal. And so they restrain her.
And then they restrain her and say, like, we have to do a surgery.
But I think
like, whole sequence is fantastic.
I think that is a perfect segue into talking about the deaths in the movie.
Yes.
Because we need to go over all the deaths.
It's a slasher movie.
It's a slasher movie. We need to go over this. You have your typical fare where it's like a couple fake outs and then they meet their end by just a knife.
I think,
but like there's some really cool fucking ones here.
Because we are in the 80s, we're gonna have a lot of slashers. I think every time we do a review, we need to go over all the deaths.
Yeah. So the first one is just a lady. She gets a knife.
Technically, the first one's the kid in the beginning.
Well, yeah. So the second one is the lady. She gets like a knife in her while like investigating a fumigated.
So this woman is, it's important because this is the woman who's actually her doctor.
Yes.
And she's going with like the files to some weird.
This is when he does like the switcheroony.
Yeah, because he kills her after a bunch of fake outs. He stabs her to death.
It's not like an exciting death because it's just him stabbing her. I mean, there is blood flying everywhere.
A pretty.
All the deaths are pretty gory. I'm not gonna lie.
They're pretty bloody,
fucking violent.
But yeah, he stabs her and like blood, and he switches out the files.
Yep.
Then there's a janitor who goes up to that room.
Well, and this is like the main trope of. I would say this is probably the only trope in the movie is like they always have the thing where it's like the person gets murdered, then the other person finds the murdered person and then gets fucking murdered.
Yes.
Because that actually happens like quite a bit in this movie.
More than once, yes.
Yes.
Which is fine. Because, I mean, look, I don't... However...
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a way for more people to get murdered in a slasher movie.
However...
So I can't complain. I'm just saying that is, like, what the setup is.
However you got to boost your body count is fine with me.
And they do it, and it's fine. It's not annoying. I'm just saying that's probably the only trope if there was one.
Well, because he walks in, and, like, he walks into that room, and there's blood everywhere, and there's, like, this, like, earlier we saw it was a mannequin. I don't... Like, again... with the fucking like nightmare stuff, because it's literally a whole room that is just mannequins covered in drapes and a single filing cabinet.
Quick side note, I think it's great that they filmed at an abandoned hospital because like it gives off that fucking creepy ass vibe.
Well, they go for that because every time like there's not a lot of people like at the hospital. No. And again, like every person at the hospital is off. It's just it like it takes advantage of the fucking setting to its full effect.
Yep. And so our dude goes and like it's a mannequin still, but like it's like
there's blood everywhere. But he sees like he opens it up and we think like, oh, it's not going to be a mannequin this time. It's the woman.
No,
he takes off the tarp.
Paint can.
It's a paint can. Fake out.
He goes to put it away.
But he goes and opens the fucking locker, and now
the woman's hanging from her feet in the locker.
And then he runs out and finds a doctor.
Yeah, our dude, because he runs into a room with a sink filled with citric acid.
Well, because he's like, the guy's like, he runs to the guy, he's like,
or, no,
doctor, like...
what is it, phosphoric acid? whatever acid deteriorates your skin.
Because basically he runs into our killer.
I'm being dumb. I can't remember the acid that they fucking. It's like in a bunch of horror movies, and I can't remember the name of the fucking acid.
I'm not a doctor. Well, I can't.
It's some kind of fucking acid that they fucking. It can dissolve skin and bone.
But our killer dunks this poor man's face into this acid, and then after he dunks his face into the acid, he goes and like beats up a fucking wall. Yes. Because this movie is totally normal.
And then, like, the next death is a woman who's writing up a report.
A report on the main character.
It's the second test they did after they, like, think she's crazy, so they do a second test to confirm...
a second test where she gets completely naked.
Yes.
And our doctor...
It's the pervious checkup. It's, like, the rapiest checkup I've ever seen, and, like, it's strange because this movie's strange.
Well,
in the best way.
It's a canon movie. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
So he like feels up on like places that should not be felt up on in a checkup. He like disrobes her.
She gets in the fucking hospital moo right? And then she sits down, and the guy's like just take it off completely.
Yeah.
And then he just like
her.
He pokes at like every inch of her body.
And, like puts the stethoscope on every like really close to certain parts of her body.
And then takes a blood test, and then, there's something's up with her.
Yeah, so...
But, yeah, he gives the woman who's actually writing up the report on the test, because obviously the blood test is going to say, oh, there's nothing wrong with her.
Right, she's totally fine.
But while she's writing this up, and, like, a woman comes in and is like, hey, like,
let's go for coffee.
And she's like, no, I got to finish
this up. So she, like, hears a noise.
Well, she opens, like... I didn't even catch this because I'm a fucking idiot, but she opens like a fucking like closet and like puts some stuff away, and then when she closes the door, the killer is like right there.
Yeah.
And then he kills her, like he stabs her and stuffs her in like the closet, and then her friend comes back. Oh yeah. Oh, he also like switches out the fucking.
Of course, he switches the blood test because
he switches the fucking report.
People to think she's fucking sick.
That she's got super cancer.
Yeah, super cancer and a mental disorder.
So the woman who was wanting to go for coffee comes back in and like opens the closet and sees the dead body, and then she starts running away and then runs into our guy and is like, "Doctor, help me!" And then he has like these like medical like tubes, and he just chokes her. And fucking, like, puts her on a fucking wheelchair and just yeets her into a closet.
I thought he did that with the guy.
What guy?
Remember the goofy dude, the fucking... Like, there was another murderer that's... I swear to God it was a guy that he put into a fucking wheelchair and...
No, he put the woman in the wheelchair.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does a switcheroony, though, because later on, when he kills the fiancée... The person in the wheelchair is the first woman who was writing up the report.
Yeah.
Because she's got the knife sticking out of her chest.
Right.
We also forgot to mention that there's like a quick scene where after he killed the first two people in the hospital, we see him wheeling like a big like
a wheelbarrow full of bodies.
And like it's kind of like lit dimly, so you think like, oh, it's like fucking mannequins. But then there's like a close up, and they're all bloody. So he just chopped them up and is wheeling them to the trash.
Then we get like I like the surgeon's death too.
Yeah,
because the mustache guy.
Because after this, it's the fiance gets his head cut off.
And then the doctor goes to talk to the surgeon about like because they're like this like think group, and they're all like wondering what they should do and everything.
They're thinking like she's gotten so bad we might have to operate.
Well, and then then we get our surgeon guy, and he's going to like check out her X-ray and see like.
And he's kind of like putting on gloves, and you think like
maybe he's the killer.
He's getting ready to operate or something.
So he puts up the X-ray of her brain, her fucked up brain, and like just blood splashes onto it.
We just see him like staring at it for like 30 seconds, but then like it's like a shot of the X-ray, and just like someone throws blood on it.
It cuts back to him, and there's a knife sticking out of his throat, and he's
like sliding
down as the knife is cutting the fabric
behind him. It's great.
It is good. It's a good one.
We get the main like sleazeball fucking doctor.
I'm surprised they did this one. I thought he wasn't going to die.
I didn't expect him to die.
Well, I mean, you know, I didn't expect him to die until maybe like the very end.
The last death.
Like I thought they were gonna do that thing where it's like he finally realizes that she was right the whole time, and then fucking gets murdered.
Yeah. No, not quite.
No, they don't.
Because he is again with the fucking dream nightmare logic.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the archive room, which is like a dark, dingy fucking dungeon room that has no lights in it.
And it's just boxes upon boxes.
It's just boxes stacked to the ceiling of boxes.
Yeah,
and he's in there with a flashlight, and like he gets and he's in there and like hears a noise, and the killer's in there, and he like stabs him in like the back of his head with a hatchet.
Yes, because at this point the woman's like roaming around the hospital because she's
trying to escape,
figure out how to get out of here.
Yeah, because she knows she saw the fucking head. She knows something's up.
So
we also don't forget the last death by the killer.
I want to save the killer's death for last.
Yes,
we're gonna save that for the last like big bangaroony.
But the last actual death by the killer is the most weird, insane shit. Because it comes out of literally nowhere, and this actually, like, this looks like something you'd see in, like, a haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a haunted house show you'd go to. Because there's, like, this doctor walking through the hallway, and she's walking and walking, and then she looks forward, and we see, like, it's, like, this hallway, and there's just this guy, like, T-posing.
With a sheet.
He's walking through the hallway, T-posing with a sheet. So you just get this, like, sheet going through the hallway.
I'll admit, it looks creepy and cool.
It's fucking weird as hell.
It looks so creepy, but I mean, it's effective. I just don't know why the fuck anyone would do this.
I don't know why anyone would do this. I don't know why anyone would come up with this for a slasher movie.
I mean, it's effective because the lighting's great, but like
I said, it looks like something you would see, like, at a haunted house show.
Yes, absolutely.
But she just sees it, and, like, it's just, like, this guy, like, and he starts, like, running, like, T-posing with his sheet, and then he runs up to her, and, like, wraps it around her, and takes, like, the biggest fucking, like, syringe on the planet, and stabs her, and then just, like, walks away. And then we just see, like, her, like, wrapped in this fucking white sheet like a ghost.
She crumples to the ground.
And that's it.
And she's dead.
I don't know.
All the deaths are pretty fucking awesome. Like I said, really like have to highlight the boyfriend getting it because like that setup though is pretty.
Well, that whole like
pretty great
10-minute sequence is great.
Yeah, and then the surgeon with the knife through the throat and like slowly going down and cutting open the divider thing.
Because that was unexpected.
Yes, it's pretty well done. Now should we talk about the end?
Yeah, I'm sure I'll remember something after we mention this, but yes. Because basically,
I swear to God, there was one more death that we're forgetting, but I can't remember.
That's it.
What? I don't know what the fuck I'm thinking about, dude. I don't know.
I'm sure there's some scene that's like in the back of your fucking lizard brain.
There has to be. You're just somewhere. I don't fucking know.
You'll remember.
I have no idea.
But because basically, during all of this, during the whole movie, there's one person at the hospital who's normal. One.
Yes.
One fucking person. There's this one doctor that's pretty normal. And I should have fucking noticed. I should have noticed it but I'm a fucking idiot. But they did a big fucking thing. Because the kid at the very beginning, his name is Harold. And the single nice doctor.
Named Harry.
His name is Harry. He's the only nice person. And he's the one who's like, he investigates the files with the woman.
Yep, he tells her she's not crazy.
That you need to get out of here. There's something crazy going on. And then after that, he vanishes from the whole movie.
Yeah.
But at the end, she finds him. And she sees... And basically we find out that he's the killer.
Oh, can we talk about that tense scene where she goes,
where she's next to the elevator?
she goes to the elevator and tries to call it. Sorry,
basically,
we'll get back to the ending.
Because there's a part where after like all this shit, they give her like a drug to take to go to sleep, and she takes it and like takes the drink, and then the nurse leaves, and we find out that she didn't actually take the drug.
This is before she gets restrained.
But she tries to run away. And she's like running through all the hallways, everything's empty. She goes to the elevator. She's like, this hospital is the slowest fucking elevator on the planet. Cause she presses it and like nothing happens. And then she sees like the footsteps, like a shadow coming down the hallway.
She runs behind one of the dividers.
She runs behind one of the dividers, and we just hear like heavy breathing.
Yep.
And just this guy that walks like a fucking like Mr. Roboto walks up to the elevator, and just
and she drops the lighter,
and then he like just Mr. Roboto does a fucking 90-degree turn.
I love it because it's like you can clearly see her through the divider, right? But like he doesn't even look into the divider.
You can't really see her through it, but if he just took his eyeballs and just pointed them at the ground, he would see like the feet and her like,
because she's trying to desperately get the lighter,
because basically it's like right in his way, like he's about to step on it, and right before he steps on the lighter, like she moves it out of the way.
Yeah.
And he just like walks straight, and then the elevator bell dings, and he does a fucking 180-degree turn.
I like how he 180 degrees in the opposite direction to where he could see her.
Yes.
Because if he turned the other way, he would totally see her, like, because he's taller than the fucking, like, the divider. So he'd see her right there, because she was looking at him the whole time.
But no, he turns right around and goes away and goes on the elevator.
Yes. So now we can talk about the ending, because she's still restrained at this point. And so he, like, creeps into the room after murdering everyone.
We get, like, a POV shot of him walking in there, and he takes her, and like we see him drag her into an elevator, and he takes her up to like the coveted.
I don't know why he's trying to keep her mouth shut at this point. There's like literally no one alive that can tell anything.
The one or two people still at the hospital could hear it apparently.
Well, the biddies maybe, but
the biddies.
That's it.
But they do save her in a way. We get to that.
What they do. So
he takes her to the coveted, creepy 9th floor.
No, okay, so there's this operating room, and the way they set this up is that it's pitch black in there, except for one light above like the operating table.
And so it's just like this faraway shot of him putting her in this operating table, and he puts her in there, and
the coolest shot in the movie is when he puts her on there and then like adjusts the light while still holding her, and it looks so cool because it's like pretty horrific. It's like him like holding her down while like adjusting this light, and she's like
just to shine it like right on her face,
and she's like laying down, and it's well set up,
cinematic.
Yes, it's very cinematic.
But she ends up taking off his mask, and she sees it's
she's like, Harry? He's like, no, it's Harold. You should known. It's Harold. And it shows like
the flashback of him murdering the fucking child. And then he takes this like, and she's like, what do you want? And he's like, what I've always wanted. And he takes this like weird looking surgical knife. And he says, your heart. And he's going and going. And then the three biddies walk in, and they're like, Dr. Jacobs? Is it Dr. Jacobs? And the woman takes the fucking the longest like surgical knife I've ever seen in my life.
It looks like a carving knife.
Yeah, like a fucking a long, like foot-long carving knife, and just stabs him in like the stomach and runs away.
She likes big knives.
She cannot lie.
No.
Okay. Listen, this whole movie...
I mean, she uses the biggest fucking knife on the planet to cut a cake, and then uses the biggest fucking surgical knife on the planet to fucking stab him.
You know what? It's true. It's keeping with her personality.
She loves big knives. Like, get her a machete and she's happy.
Yeah.
Just the biggest fucking Bowie knife you can find.
It's fucking huge, and our guy spends like 90% of the chase scene
just shuffling around
with
like
this
bleeding out.
giant knife in him, just bleeding out everywhere.
She runs up the stairs and she runs to like the roof.
Well, first she runs into like a room that I can best describe as like the weirdest like closet in the planet, because it's just like beakers.
Oh right, yeah. There's a bunch of jars.
There's a bunch of beakers and shit,
everywhere.
and then he like kind of like catches her.
I'm wondering if it was like a testing lab, maybe.
I don't know. It's fine. Atmosphere.
But she tries to get up like this ladder into like an attic. I
don't know where it goes to. But you know what's up there?
A flammable liquid. The only jar of flammable liquid on the entire shelf.
It's great, but there's
literally only one jar on the
fine
shelf.
Because
it's flammable.
we get a close up. We get a close up of the warning label, and she spills it on our guy.
He like backs up and she like runs.
She runs away, and then she runs up to the roof, and there's like this like rope there. So she closes the door to the roof and like puts like the rope around it to tie it closed.
Yeah.
And the guy runs up there, tries to open it, and he sees the fucking doors closed by the rope, and so he pulls out the epic fucking carving knife.
Yep, and saws the rope, and then she's like hiding, and he's like stumbling around, and he has the knife with him, and he like walks past her because he doesn't see her, and she picks up this giant fucking pipe and just brings it down on him.
She beats the shit out of him, and tries walking away. And he catches her, gets on top of her, and then they do a close up of her lighter on the ground. And you know
what's gonna happen. So he's trying to stab her. She's struggling with one arm, and like she reaches over with the other, and like it's like classic like just barely
missing
reach it, and then she finally gets a hold of it, lights him on fucking fire. He's like running around all fucking on fire. He's still. Now, I have to appreciate his dedication as a slasher, because he still chases her.
Well, yeah, because
he doesn't try and, like, put the fire out.
No.
He's chasing her the whole time.
No, she's, like, standing next to, like, the edge of the roof.
And he's like, nimbling towards her.
They do this thing where he's, like, trying to catch her, and she's, like, moving, like, out of the way. And then she moves out of the way, and he fucking... Our filmmakers did my favorite thing of all time, which is they lit a dummy on fire, and it was some like intern's job to fucking throw a dummy off a roof, and we just get a shot of a dummy
just flailing
a dummy on fire, flailing through the air,
just smacks the ground
and smacks into the ground on fire. And then after that, like, we just get a shot of her back in like the clothes that she started the movie with, hugging her kid, and her like bitch ass husband is just kind of standing there like,
yeah.
End movie.
That him on fire chasing her. Have you seen that viral video where it's kind of older now, but there's like the couple, and like the guy starts getting tased, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you, bitch," and like as he's like getting tased to the ground, that's like they kind of. I don't know why I was just reminded of that video, by, like him like being so dedicated to like killing her that he like chased her even though he was on fucking fire.
I had a feeling as soon as they got to the roof, I was like, "Oh, someone's falling off. Someone's fucking falling off."
Well, you knew.
Well, you know what's funny?
He gets covered in flammable liquid, so you knew like he was gonna be set on fire at some point.
You know what's really funny though? I didn't even think about this. Back in 1980. We watched a film called New Year's Evil.
We did.
Which was a canon film also.
Yes.
Which also ended with a dummy falling off a roof.
Yeah, it did.
How does this end?
The dummy falling off a roof?
Epic.
Hell yeah. You know what? You gotta appreciate the ragdoll dummies falling off roofs.
If there's anything, there's a lot of things that I find sad about, like, what the overuse of CGI has done to cinema. And I can assure you, one of the things that I find sad is that now with the advent of CGI,
ragdoll,
we don't get dummies.
So, and you don't get the fun, because I can imagine for a film crew, it's pretty fucking fun lighting a dummy on fire and throwing it off a fucking roof.
Because you have the people on the roof who have to actually light it on fire, and then some fucking intern has to throw it off. And then on the ground, you have your cameraman who actually has to film like the dummy from the roof falling to the ground. And I can guarantee you, like, you know for a fact that behind the cameraman, there's like a bunch of crew members just watching.
They're just hanging out.
They're just hanging out and
they
watching.
They just want to watch that shit.
And then as soon as the director yells cut, I guarantee you everyone's like, yeah!
Like,
fuck yeah!
Who in the right mind would not want to watch a dummy be set on fire and then thrown from a roof?
Like, Will, on their, like, filming schedule, I guarantee you everyone's, like, there's, like, a fucking, like, if they're having their schedule, like, on a paper, there's, like, day, like, 20, dummy. And everyone wants to be on set the day that they light the dummy on fire and throw it off the roof.
I'd be like, we're throwing the dummy off the roof today? Okay, cool. I'm going to be fucking there.
Because you know that they dress up the dummy in the doctor's clothing.
Oh, they're dedicated.
They put the pants on, and then someone has to throw it off.
The guy, okay. Like, they have to make it look like the dude. It's like anything where it's like they're falling off a cliff into the ocean or something like that.
Oh, it's great.
They just fucking like lob a fucking dummy into the ocean. You can appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
And it looks ridiculous. And
it looks ridiculous every time, and it's like
you can tell it's a dummy.
Well, because everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. And the thing is, like, another thing is, like, you know, like, you don't need a shot of the dummy going straight from the roof and smacking into the fucking ground and falling into pieces. But we have it, and I appreciate that. They're like, you need to see this. You need to see this bitch hit the ground.
Again, lizard brain appeased. That's what we need. It's just fucking fun to watch a dummy fly to the ground and smack onto the ground so fucking hard that it breaks apart.
This whole
and it looks
movie
like a person.
Is lizard brain appeasement.
It really is.
This is 90 minutes.
Fever dream lizard brain appeasement.
It's like you could have had a normal movie. Just a woman in a hospital. But no.
But would we have enjoyed a normal movie as much as we enjoyed this one? I don't think so. I think if this was like normal, it probably would have been boring.
I think it still would have been fun. I mean, listen, I love slashers. So I still probably would have enjoyed it. But
we wouldn't have gotten that like paranoia.
You wouldn't have gotten its flavor.
Yes.
It's like, we would have gotten a steak. A decent, medium cooked steak. But no, like, extra. Instead, we got, like, a well-seasoned, like, filet.
Yes.
Like
a bacon wrapped filet.
That's what we got. We got bacon wrapped, like, the bacon was perfectly crispy and the meat was, like, still bloody. It's flavor. And I appreciate that. They didn't need to add the flavor. Like, here's the thing. All that shit in the hospital is, I'm not joking, it's 100% fucking pointless.
Yes, it absolutely is, because it goes nowhere.
Like, I'm sure some fucking smug person out there would watch this movie and be like, this is literally pointless bullshit. And you know what? You're right. But I love that.
It's great, because it makes it not the same as any other movie.
Like, did we need a weird-ass scene where she gets completely naked and the weird doctor, like, pokes her? No. But we got it. Fuck it.
Yeah. And it made the movie, like, that much more entertaining.
Did we need, like, every person at the hospital to be a fucking weirdo?
Did we need it to be, like, a haunted house of fucking, like, hospital, like...
Yeah. Every patient in this hospital is, like, weird.
Yes.
There's like a throwaway scene where she's like walking through a hallway and there's like this person on a bench and they're like kind of leaning over and their hair is like draped over their face. They look like it looks like something out of like The Ring.
Even like the nurses and stuff act weird.
Oh yeah, because they're like super like impersonal and they're like
they're all detached and everything, and like all like just don't want to fucking be there.
No, they're very happy to fucking restrain her though.
Yes.
Again,
well, yeah, the two strong arm nurses.
Flavor.
Yes.
It's like as soon as our character walks through the doors of the hospital, it's like the movie switches into a new dimension, basically.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, because it is kind of normal at first. I mean, except for the first murder scene, but like everything else is like pretty normal. Like, it's just a woman dealing with a fucking douchebag ex.
Yeah.
And has a new boyfriend that's taking her to the hospital. And, like, it's literally just, like, a 2-minute thing, and then we go into Weirdsville. We just fucking go into, like, fucking, like, this weird, fucked up, like, trippy, like, alternate reality horror fest.
Will, remember when horror movies were 90 minutes?
I do.
And you know what that meant? Is when your horror movie was mandated to be 90 minutes. You know what that meant? You better not waste your fucking time.
Remember when, like, slasher movies themselves were a thing?
Oh, like every week?
Yeah.
There's a new one? I miss this shit. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, here's the thing, we're gonna have a lot more of these, and I'm fucking excited. But I do feel a bit of, like, almost like a hipster smugness about my love of this shit.
Yeah.
Because these movies got fucking shredded by, like, critics. Everyone said they were fucking horrible and, like, degrading and stupid. And for me, I watched them and I'm like, no, this is...
I miss this shit.
It's fun to just watch a horror movie that doesn't waste your fucking time.
Remember when... you just said it. Remember when horror movies were fun?
Fun!
Not these serious, grimdark fucking...
That's the thing. It's like you could, you know, once upon a time, you could have, like, a violent, R-rated horror movie. And these were violent.
Self-contained, I mind.
Self-contained.
Self-contained, you know.
Violent, R-rated horror movie. And somehow, it was still fun.
Yeah.
And it didn't waste your fucking time.
Hey, even in the early thousands, they had it.
They still had it for a while.
Now we get, like, nothing. We get, like, Conjuring movies.
Now you get ghost stories.
Yes.
Where, like, it's like PG-13.
It's like haunted house shit.
It's a haunted house, right?
It's like all haunted house stuff. It's like no slashers. We don't, like, unless you're watching indie shit, you don't really get, like, the atmospheric horror stuff.
No, or, well, don't forget, it's also, we get lots of, ghost stories here based on a true story, Will.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because
if they're grounded in reality, they're scarier, okay?
It's totally real, Will.
Yeah.
It's not fake at all.
I mean, don't research it too much because you'll find they, like, were very liberal in the based on. Very fucking liberal on the based on the true story.
Yeah, I was like, someone heard a pounding in the attic once, and then you watch the movie, it's like, okay, yeah, okay.
It's, like, way extreme.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. I could rant about, like, how horror movies have kind of died, unless you're watching indie horror movies.
Or you're two douchebags in a basement who have a podcast that catches up to the 80s, and you're watching slasher movies, and you're like, oh, right, fun.
We have our platform.
We made it.
We've made our platform.
I've made it to what I fucking waited for.
Here's our platform. I am slasher fan. Hear me roar.
I miss this shit.
I do too.
I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I hope one day there's, like, a fucking revival of this.
Yeah, I do too.
But now, when I say revival, I don't mean, like, a bunch of hacks make remakes of, like...
No, because that's just cheap.
It's cheap.
Do, like, original shit.
A new thing.
Yes.
Like, it's been so many years since the 80s. Like, so many new things have happened in the world. You could make a new fucking movie.
Exactly. You can make a new kind of horror slasher movie.
Yeah. They did. This fucking movie did. Like...
Yeah, just do something new, original, horror-based that's not based on a true story, just to do an original IP.
Yeah, or don't do a remake.
No.
Don't remake Nightmare on Elm Street. I know they already did.
Again, we could go on and on and on about how fucking upset we are about new age fucking horror. But we need to get to shitty to pretty. So, what would you rate this? I know what I'd give it.
What would you give it?
I'd give it
you go first.
I'd give it a 7.
Okay.
And I thought about it, and I was gonna give it a 6 because I listen. I don't hate this movie, and it's weird as fuck, and I really enjoyed it. But it is the greatest fucking slasher movie I've ever seen.
No,
absolutely not.
No,
because there is some weird acting choices, and there's some, like, you can nitpick it, but, like, you shouldn't. Just enjoy it for what it is. But I think a solid 7 is probably where I'd put it.
I would.
Maybe that's too low, but I don't know.
I'd give it an 8, because, like you said, it's not Friday the 13th. Which, I mean, like, if you ask me, like, to distill slasher perfection, it's the Friday the 13th franchise. It's not quite there.
I think they should have gone with more, because they had original kills in this, right? I think they should have gone for more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like,
it's just a lot of the guy stabbing a person, like.
Yeah, I will say this, like, there's like a good amount of blood, but compared to like other slashers, especially 80s slashers, there's not a lot of like, I don't know, it's...
And that's what I'm comparing.
This might sound like a weird thing to say, but I'm also saying this because I know our next movie. I think this movie could have been a little more mean, if that makes sense.
Like mean-spirited?
Because if you watch a Friday the 13th movie, when people die, it's fucking mean.
Oh, it's brutal.
Like, people get fucked.
And, like, it's not, like, nice. It's not just some guy, like, stabbing them. It's, like...
It's mean.
It's, like, well, because you're watching a slasher, it's... Presumably, the slasher is someone who enjoys killing people.
Like, in those movies, you literally get people, like, in full gore detail, like, choking on their fucking blood as they're being murdered. And, like, the killer is, like, going fucking into it. Like, like, that's what I'm talking about. It's fucking mean. This... Not quite.
It ain't that mean.
I know this is, like, very early in the cycle.
Yeah.
So, obviously... But, again, I know what movie's coming next, so I'm...
No, again, I'm sticking with my 7. Just because...
It's fair.
Pretty much because of all the points you made. Because, like, yes, it's, like, unique. Yes, it's kind of, like, weird. But as...
It also definitely, like...
solely basing it on, like, a slasher, I would say there's much better shit you could watch.
No, there's more pure.
But if you want some weird shit and some weird paranoia shit... with some fucking slasher mixed in, I would definitely say you could do worse than this too. So.
Yeah, because another thing, like, and I mean, it's one of those things where like the crazy atmosphere, like, boosts it for me because like if you remove the atmosphere, like, I know like slashers aren't plot heavy, but this movie especially is extremely thin on like.
Dude, if you removed all the paranoia stuff, it'd probably be like a 5.
It'd be like a 5 or a 4 because
it'd be such a meh.
Because
like,
the characterization and like the plot is very thin.
Well, it'd be like such a meh fucking like slasher film. It's like, yeah, we've seen this before. Like, it's fine, but it's not like a masterpiece.
Yeah,
I think they needed to add the fucking weird shit because
to make it cool.
It makes it its own thing.
Yeah,
at that point,
because like, with most slashers, like the people who die. You get some sort of backstory.
Yeah.
So, like, when, like, they're fucking chopping down, like, the cast of the movie, you at least, like, get some, like, base level knowledge of who these people are.
You don't know who anyone is.
But this is just, like, people show up on screen, die.
We know who 2 people are.
Yeah.
Like, Henry and fucking the main woman. That's it.
Yes.
We don't know any other people's side stories.
Everyone else in this movie...
We don't get any fucking flavor as far as the characters.
Everyone else in this movie is a fucking stereotype. Which in its own way...
I think adds to the movie.
It adds to the movie, but also it adds to the movie because, thankfully, atmosphere is lit.
Yes.
And the movie's weird.
Yeah. So, X-Ray. Go watch it if you're in the mood for some weird fucking horror shit.
It is on Prime.
If you do want kind of just like a throwaway 90-minute slasher, you could do a lot worse than this.
Oh, trust me, you could do a lot worse.
It's just I don't know. It's fun. It's 90 minutes of fun. You're not going to be disappointed if you like this kind of shit.
You'll enjoy it.
You'll enjoy it. Like, you'll like the fucking paranoia and shit like that. And there's some weird shit going on. There's some like really cool imagery. So you're not going to be disappointed if you watch this movie.
No, if you are like us.
Who knows? Maybe you'll like really love it and go buy the Blu-ray.
I mean,
more power.
I'm sure there's people like that.
More power to you. I'm sure there's people that like think that movies we love are fucking stupid as hell.
I'm sure there's someone out there who's like been dreaming of a movie like this to come along.
There has to be.
And you
There's
should
probably someone that would give it a 10 out of 10. I guarantee it.
And if you are that person, you
But
should watch this movie.
go watch it. Go watch X-Ray. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Pretty much, it's on Prime. Go watch it.
All right. So for They Mostly Come Out at Night, this has been Will.
This has been Alex.
And we will talk to you all later.
Beep boop. Bye-bye. Laud.
Horror's dead.